change in the program. Mr. Ram Prasad from the Forest Department had some official engagement last minute, so he won't be able to join us, unfortunately. We're looking forward to his session also. We also had actually a stall outside of the Forest Department plan, but due to some official engagements, we were not able to make it. So instead of that, I decided to give this one, which I gave 2 months ago also. Some of you, I don't know, hope not too many came to my home that time. So this will be about touring by cycling. I hope some of you would be interested in that topic. This is what came to mind. So I'm planning to take that first, so that our next speaker, Mr. Manning, has a little bit of more crowd coming in by 11 o'clock. Okay, so before we go to the presentation, so basically myself and 2 other guys from the group, we went on a 10-day kind of tour by cycle through the island, Sri Lanka. So the presentation is pretty generic. It will talk about touring by cycle. Kind of doesn't matter which place you go. So whatever tips I'm going to give will be useful to pack your cycle on the flight. Carry your tent along, be completely independent. Switch random pictures which I took during that trip. So previous speakers actually saw frequently at many places. So we were carrying a tent with us. Typically we try to pitch the tent. Most wildlife is there in Sri Lanka, a lot of beautiful national parks. So with a bit of safety we try to pitch our tent somewhere close to the houses. In many cases people did not allow us to put up the tent and requested us to stay in their home itself. Next. So here you can see it's really beautiful cycling through the hills. We cover a lot of the central part of the island. There's some good hilly terrain. So fully packed with luggages in the saddlebags. Next one. A lot of places where you find traces of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So deep into the countryside. Next one. Just click on the right button. Right, up, down. Right button. So you can see a lot of beautiful, Sri Lanka has a lot of national parks, well preserved. So very beautiful places to cycle to actually. Next one. Yeah, this is how we basically pack up our cycles to carry it along on the flight. Next. You can also find a lot of beautiful reservoirs. These are like artificial lakes formed by dams. Nice places to camp along. Some of the foods people give to us, even without asking during the homestay. Next. In every place wherever we stay, we are like welcomed with open hands. Local people show a lot of hospitality. Next one. This is Victoria Dam. Huge dam, 500 meter long, 200 meter high. Very impressive thing to watch. Next one. This guy you could see crossing the road here and there while we were traveling along the highways, the Komodo dragon, huge lizard. Next one. This is my team. So typically when you go out touring, you don't want to go with a big group, you go with a small group of like solid guys who are able to cover like some 700 kilometers we did across 10 days. A lot of climbs up and down in the hills. Next one. This is how we pack up the cycles to take it along with us on the flight. Next. And again in Sri Lanka, in addition to the beautiful national parks, you see a lot of heritage there. A lot of ancient artifacts. This is some huge Buddha statue which is carved out of a rock. Next one. So then of course the typical mechanical challenges. One of our guys' chain was broken along the way. Next one. On top of a rock, a beautiful ancient palace built on like a vertical rock that remains the foundation of the remains of the king's palace. Next one. This is how it looks typically when you go out cycling on the monsoon. Yeah, so again a picture of one of my colleagues cycling through the hills. Beautiful actually, we cycle morning till evening. Next. Yeah, next. So this is, we don't stay in hotels with attached bathrooms, this is our attached bathroom to the campsite. Next one, yeah, next. Some of the beautiful caves near Damula. So lots of Buddha statues, beautiful paintings on the ceilings of the wall. There's some 5 caves there. Next photo shows whenever we reach the end of the day, when it gets dark, we just pitch up the tent whenever we reach that time. So and kind of settle down. Next one. So, while cycling next to some of the beaches, beautiful beaches of the island. This is one of the very old fresco paintings in one of the historical sites, so we will have information on that. Okay, this is just to give you an idea of some of the places we visited. Let me now start with a small presentation I prepared. So on touring basically, if you want to go, say you have 2-3 weeks of leave, right, and you want to explore a place abroad, any place, I mean this is just Sri Lanka. 2 years ago we did 1,000 kilometers with 3 people in Ladakh, to Spiti Valley and Mashal. So you just pack up your cycle, you pack up your tents and luggage, and you basically plan. So this presentation will show you a little bit how you can plan such a trip. Looks like a little bit scary at first sight, but it's actually not a big deal if you know what to do. So next slide. I think there's a table of contents somewhere that was taken, There's a table of contents in my presentation. Okay, no, then let's just jump in right away. I think that's like what I was looking at it in the morning. Okay, so first thing is actually to plan your schedule, right? So in my case, this was a trip which we did in last December. Company closed down for a week, so we had a weekend, 2 weekends, totally 10 days we took off. So out of those 10 days, we needed to calculate like 2 days, 1 day to kind of pack up, take the flight, reach the place, fix up your cycles, and then same. Going outside, returning back, you need to plan some time for your return travel. So basically we had 8 days mental time for touring across the island. And out of that we kind of planned. Sri Lanka has a lot of beautiful nature and a lot of also historical, beautiful heritage, very ancient stuff. We planned to kind of cover 3 historical sites, which took us around 1.5 days. And the remaining 6.5 days we covered some 700 kilometers, mostly through hilly terrain on cycle, focusing mostly on national parks and mountain ranges. So with a total elevation gain of actually more than Mount Everest. So we climbed more than 9,000 meters on the cycles basically. Okay, next slide. So this is the map of Sri Lanka, a little zoom in. So here you have Colombo, capital. You have the airport, Negombo. So most of the interesting historical sites are somewhere in the northwest. So we wanted to spend some time there. And then basically we wanted to go like vertically north to south to the center of the island where you have a lot of beautiful mountain ranges. Going in the mountains has the benefit that you're in a higher altitude and the climate typically will be better. Sri Lanka is also quite hot. So what we did basically is we flew into the country, and then to cover this place, I mean this 200 kilometer stretch, we kind of took a taxi. We just took the cycles as packed as they came from the flight, dropped it on an Innova, and kind of covered the first day to reach to the first historical site where we started the trip. After that we went to the Knuckles Range, to the reserve forest, and to the Victoria Wildlife Sanctuary, and we went to the Northern Plains. From there again we returned through the mountains back to the airport. That was overall the journey which we planned. So here you can see a small elevation profile. So this shows over like those 8 days of cycling, what is the altitude we went up and down. So here you can see from 0 to 2,000, so some 2,200 meters, the highest point in Sri Lanka, the Horton Plains, how we cycled up and down all the time. That's actually how we were able to kind of get a total elevation gain of around 9,000 meters during those 8 days of cycling. Next one. Can I just take a quick look? I have a feeling that the presentation has been shuffled a little bit. Bring this up. So, if you go on like a cycle tour, right, to an unknown place, so it's important that you plan your day. So how we typically do the daily routine is something like this. So when you go on a tour, obviously you do some rough plan, right? You saw on the map we had a plan to cover the northwest, the historical sites, and then the central region of the mountain ranges and reserve forest. But you'll always know, obviously, that on a cycle trip or any bikepacking tour, whatever you do, that your actual schedule will not always be the one you plan. So there will always be some changes depending on the delays, or you discover some beautiful places where you want to spend extra time. Sometimes you'll have to climb across a steep gas section that will cause delays, and that will have to change the plan from the actual planned schedule. And so your progress depends on your distance, how much distance you're going to cover every day on the cycle. Typically you're not going to do more than like 80 to 120 kilometers depending on the terrain. Obviously how much climbing you do, and then of course depending on the historical sites you pass, you'll spend more, sometimes a full whole day or even an entire day on one site just exploring the monuments in that place. So the key with touring is actually that you wake up very early, because the best time of the day is the early morning as well as the late afternoon. Midday can get pretty hot. So you wake up early morning, typically take breakfast a bit later, don't immediately eat, but kind of go for a 1 hour ride, and then you feel hungry and it's more days to do your breakfast. Maximize again the morning afternoon time, because then it's also the best time for photography when the light is not too harsh. Once it becomes 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, sunlight is very strong and you will not get the same kind of beautiful photos. Geit nature park crossing, you have to be again careful. So when you cross some of these wildlife sanctuaries, there will be absolutely nothing there. So no restaurants, no shops, nobody to help you out. So it's important that you cross those sections like early morning. You don't start in the afternoon and then get stuck somewhere in the middle of the night, in the middle of of nowhere. So then also you have to plan a little, right? You only carry your luggage with you, you typically don't carry any food with you, with some snacks, so you always have to kind of plan to reach the next town for lunch and dinner. And then pre-sunset, when it becomes like 5 o'clock in the evening, you have 1-2 hours of daylight left. You always have to already start planning for setting up camp, so a suitable place where you can have food, where you have a proper place to set up the tent. And preferably also near a water body, so you can take a refreshing dip, because you have been paddling for 800 kilometers. This is typically our daily routine looks like. Next slide. So how do we manage all the luggage, and how do we manage the cycle? So if you want a flight, you get around 20 kg of check-in luggage, around 7 kg of luggage which you can carry along with you. Right, so most of the check-in goes to the cycle, because any mountain bike which you see there will be easily 15 kilograms for like a decent model with like the imported aluminum alloy, lightweight. So, and then packing it up in a box, also carrying your your repair tools, which you cannot really carry on in your check-in luggage. It won't allow you to carry metals and other certain objects, so you have to carry also your tools along with it, so that will already fill up your 20 kg. So the only thing that you can actually take in your hand luggage will be all the luggage that you need, all your clothing, your camping gear, and everything basically. So just a little bit more still. So the key with touring by cycle is actually to travel light, just like we say for trekking. Carry as little as possible with you, because any extra kilogram you're going to carry, you have to pull along with you on the cycle across all those mountains and bad roads. It's very essential to kind of minimize your luggage. Also something we learned is that it's also very important to pack up sleeping bags, clothes, electronics, fully in plastic. When we went in December for 10 days, we had actually 5 days of pretty heavy monsoon, followed by 5 days of strong sun actually. So the monsoon actually got us, battered us a lot with a lot of rain on the cycle, so it's very important to keep your stuff dry so that you can sleep dry in the night. Best thing is to wear dry fit clothing. Dry fit clothing is suitable for wet climates, so it quickly dries out, as well as for sunny climate. It's breathable. Repair tools, obviously, you need to take care of punctures or problems with the chain, the brakes and everything. And then of course camping gears. Temple easily weighs on 3.5 kilograms. You can carry your sleeping bags and mat to sleep comfortably in the outdoors. One more thing is of course is the money side. So Sri Lanka has a different currency. Two Sri Lanka rupees are equal to 1 Indian rupee. So on the total expense of the trip, this was a little bit of amount. So for the flight, I think some 1 or 2 months in advance. So that was 10K for a return flight from Chennai to Colombo. And then for the actual 10 days of touring, we just spent 15K. Out of this 15K again, a little bit of money went, quite a bit of money went to like the entry for historical monuments and national parks. Sri Lanka is a very touristical place. You see a lot of foreign tourists there, and they make a lot of money out of their heritage and their wildlife. Their nature. So that's almost 5K went into that. And then we spent 1.6K on the taxi to drop us to our first starting point. A couple of times we slept in hotels at the start and finished to kind of unpack and repack again. And the actual expense of the trip was actually like 7.5K over 10 days for just the food. The stay mostly was free, as we mostly camped outdoors or stayed with local people. So it's pretty cheap. Next one. Yeah, next. Yeah, so night stay basically. So whenever you go cycling, you need to kind of plan a little bit in advance for your, at the end of the day, where you're going to stay. So you need to identify a suitable place for camping. So places where we felt was like pretty decent was like, first of all, you don't want to be inside the town. Typically when you can't set up a camp in some open ground or school in a town, local people might kind of start getting curious and bother you. So it's always better to camp in a peaceful place, but at the same time, there's a lot of wildlife in Sri Lanka, so if you're in the middle of nowhere there, there are like high density of leopards, some of these national parks, crocodiles in some of the lakes. You have to be take a little bit care of safety also. Again, as I said, we typically prefer to camp near a lake or a stream or a waterfall to kind of freshen up in the evening. And then of course, as we don't carry food, we always want to kind of be not too far away from a small town where we can get dinner and breakfast on the next day. So during those 10 days, we had a couple of hotels to kind of enter and exit the country comfortably. And then out of the remaining 7 days, we actually planned to stay outdoors. So in many cases, we kind of prefer to stay somewhere near, on the outskirts of the towns, near houses, ask people to kind of put up the tent in their backyards. Sri Lanka is very similar to Kerala, and everyone will have a huge backyard where we can actually pitch up the tents. But again, in many cases, when we ask people to pitch up our tent, they actually kind of invite us to stay in their home. And we ended up staying actually inside the houses with people. I mean, these are not homestays actually, but just private homes where we ask people in the night, can we pitch up the tent, and we finally ended up staying in their house itself. So we're getting this kind of dome tent. So dome tent is something like this one here with those sticks that you can pack up very compactly and you can get it on a cycle. It's hardly 3.6 kg, it covers 3 people. It's waterproof, so it's suitable for monsoon camping. And in addition to that, we have to obviously carry our sleeping bags. When camping in the hills at 2,000 meter altitude, it can get pretty cold in the night. So we have to carry proper protection against the cold in the night and sleeping mats to sleep properly on the underground. Next one. So the weather, as I mentioned, so we had 5 days of serious heavy monsoon, so dry fit clothing was the best suitable thing there. Even chapels also, we kind of started using like sport shoes initially, but continuous rain, kind of starts soaking the feet, becomes a little uncomfortable, you get shoe bites, so best thing is actually to dress up very lightly, dry fit, just carry chapels, and like that you can actually comfortably travel in monsoon climates. Towards the end of the trip it became very hot, so again dry fit clothes were best to keep ourselves breathable. We also carry those sun protection gears, like maybe something on your head, protect your arms. You don't need to actually carry those sun creams. And those things are like toxic creams, so it's better to just cover yourself fully up in clothing to protect yourself from the sun. Next one. So then for navigation, so I mean, as you go through some of these in the middle of nowhere places, nobody's around to ask the way. So you actually have to carry your own maps with you. So in Google Maps we kind of drew the entire trail. So I'm giving a navigation bootcamp now where we teach people how to kind of find trails and then draw your own trails. You can download those trails in any smartphone. We have a lot of applications like Orux Maps where you can actually view maps and trails offline on your phone. You don't need any active data connection. So that actually allows you to kind of, with the built-in GPS in your phone, at any moment of time you can see wherever there is a split in the road, left, right, to kind of proceed along the right routes. I was also carrying topographic maps with me, so we could kind of get an idea of the elevation and topography of the terrain ahead of us, so that we knew, we could kind of estimate how long it would take to cover the next 10 or 20 kilometers through the hills. So, for India specifically, so if you fly out with cycles, you have to take care of one thing, which is the fact that you cannot really bring in cycles into the country without paying import duty. So it's important if you take your cycles out that you get this custom declaration form filled up, which will allow you to bring back your cycles into the country without paying duty, basically. So that's one thing we learned during this trip, which we didn't have to do when we went cycling in Ladakh 2 years ago. A couple of historical sites, so this was all about touring, how to plan the trip and everything. So I just want to cover a couple of historical sites which we visited, as well as national parks, which are really beautiful to go and explore. So food, yeah, food in Sri Lanka is pretty similar to what you find in India. Okay, and that's it, yeah. A few slides are missing actually. Any questions on this one? So for the people who came in, this was just a fill-up session as one of our speakers dropped out. Yeah.
Did you see the palace in there?
Yeah, so we went on top of the cliff. Where actually we went to that, we saw the remaining ruins of the palace. From the cliff you get a beautiful view on the surroundings. So that was one of the 3 historical sites we visited. That one, Sigiriya, Dambulla, and then one other place where there was an old dynasty many years ago, some peak before Christ, I think, and huge damage to the foundations and beautiful architects.
Climbing the cliff is difficult, isn't it?
It's a little bit steep. You have to climb up steep uphill to reach on top of the cliff. Yeah. It looks like a well-protected place that is in the old days. Any other questions from anyone?
There are like smaller trips which you plan locally rather than going out to the country.
Yeah, so what we do once in a while is obviously the weekly trips in CTC where we take like 2 weeks ago I did an MTB ride in Jawaharlal Hills, it was 4 hours southwest of Chennai. We took 25 cycles, we take it on a small lorry, we carpool together, go to the same place, and we spend 2 full days in very beautiful places. In case of Jawaharlal, we were going in a tribal kind of hilly range with beautiful off-road trails, middle of nowhere, far away from civilization, and very beautiful. We used to go 3-4 days cycling or biking in the Western Ghats also, a lot of beautiful places there to go. So again, you can do the same thing. You take your cycle on a bus, or take your cycle on a cycling on the car, go to the base camp and then start cycling like 15 80 kilometers per day. Pick up your tent wherever you end up at the end of the day. You can pitch up a tent next to some beautiful lake on top of a cliff where you have a beautiful view on the surrounding plains. So a lot of opportunity in South India to do cycling. Yeah.
Any serious injuries to any of the bikers? Or do you have any backup plan for
I mean, we carry the first aid kits. Cycle, not much typically happens there. So, I mean, the driving discipline in Sri Lanka is also much better than India. They give a lot of respect to people on foot or cycle. The cars, very disciplined traffic on the highways. So that's not an issue. The main challenge actually for the person new to cycling would be a little mechanical defects. So puncture, of course, is a pretty easy thing to fix, but if a chain breaks, or there's some problem with the gears or so, then it becomes a bit tricky. But I've done a lot of bike trips initially in India, like go to Ladakh, go to the Western Ghats. I've gone 4 times to Ladakh with my bullets. I used to have much more mechanical issues with those motorcycles compared to cycles. Cycles are pretty basic things, not too many not too many tricky parts there, just the chain, all the rest is pretty rigid, so not too much that can go wrong actually. This is a much bigger peace of mind than going on a bullet to the same place, if you ask me.
And on a Hindi trial, if any serious injuries like fracture of any of the biker, unfortunately. So
yeah.
How do you plan for pulling off one of the biker on a remote place like that?
Well, that is always there, right? So if you go into like a national park, which sometimes takes 4 or 5 hours to cross the other side, then. But again, I mean, in Sri Lanka itself is a pretty touristical place. So whatever highways we kind of cross, there's always like cars moving around. You always have like some local people around. So if something happens, of course, you need to plan something. That is always there. It's the same on a trek. On a trek, you're even deeper into the jungle, and it will take 8 hours to get out. So that is always there. Yeah. But again, on a cycle, I mean, we drive carefully. Even if you fall down, you're not going to get any major injury. It's not a high-speed kind of thing.
So you said you stayed with locals. So
Yeah.
did you plan for that earlier? As in, did you contact them?
No, so the plan is actually to stay outdoors, but then, I mean, we saw actually wild elephants on the road. We heard about some national parks have the highest density of leopards, there are crocodiles in some of these rivers, so we kind of wanted to be a little safe and actually not stay too far away from human settlements, so that it's a little bit safe in the night. So that's why we actually went to approach people. It was a challenge because they don't speak English most of the time, it's Sinhalese there. So sometimes with sign language we try to explain them, pointing to their garden where we put up our tent in your backyard. And finally, I mean, the people were very, hospitality was amazing there. So I mean, they don't speak much of the same language. They finally invited us to stay in the house. They gave tea, they gave food to us. So it was like a wonderful experience. People who talked English you could then communicate with, and you could then really get the view of the people on like say, on political situation in Sri Lanka and some of the historical things. So it was really nice to stay with local people and get a local perspective on many things.
Did you come across any wild animals? Had you planned in case anything?
We saw wild elephant on one of the highways, so that animal was nicely busily eating on the side of the road, so we just passed him. And then we saw some of these Komodo dragons like running across the highway. Apart from that, I think we haven't seen any major wildlife. But definitely there's still a lot of wildlife in those well-preserved national parks in Sri Lanka. They really take care of their national reserve forests.
Have you got any pictures about the palace?
I got a lot of pictures, but I didn't download too many. I just showed some 20 pictures at the beginning. So you can check on Facebook. Facebook, all the pictures, 300 pictures are there. You can take a look at my account.
Peter, you packed up your cycles in cartons, right, and took them to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And after unpacking, what did you do with those cartons? And like, how did you repack for coming back?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. Yeah. So you also have to plan for your return journey. So indeed, I mean, when we went to Ladakh 2 years ago, we did 1,000 kilometers from Shimla all the way to Spiti Valley, then Manali Leh, and then in Leh we kind of took out. Leh we we are lucky because Lees is a touristical place, there are some a lot of cycling is happening, so there we're able to find an empty box and kind of pack up the cycle again, and take a bus to Srinagar, fly back from Srinagar to Chennai. In this case, what we did is we came into the airport and we didn't have a plan. The plan was normally to chunk the boxes, but we were lucky the taxi driver who dropped us actually 200 kilometers to our first point. He was a nice guy, so he told us, I'll keep the boxes with me, and then once you come back to the airport, give us a call and we will, I'll give you back the boxes. So we could cycle all the way to the airport and give him a call, he dropped the boxes, we packed it up again, and we just checked into the flight. It's important that you probably pack the cycles because obviously just like any luggage on the flight it gets handled a bit roughly, so you want to protect your stuff. Any other questions on this one before we proceed?
As we take tools like knife and other materials, is there anything caught in the flight and we have to purchase it there?
So that's what I'm saying. So all these tools like repair tools, the keys and metal stuff that you need to handle some of the mechanical defects, that all has to go in your box, in the cycle box, so that it's checked in. There's no limitations on that. They'll just be checking the 7 kg of hand carry luggage that you carry with you there. You cannot have any metal objects or sharp objects with you. So that all has to go in the box basically. Even spare tubes and stuff has to go in the box. So that's what we did basically. We put all the hardware in the box along with the cycle, packed it up, and only carrying clothes and camping gear with us in the flight, so that was not a problem.
How big of a pace do you go when you go for these local trips? Because if somebody is like lagging behind, how do you get?
Yeah. So I mean, recently we have been doing these hill runs with like fairly sizable groups and mountain biking rides through the hills, again in the middle of nowhere, so no directions and so. So obviously you always go with the heterogeneous groups, so not everyone will be at the same fitness level. So what we did, we put this on the ground, we make these direction markers. So we use rocks actually to say on the junction, you take a right, and then you go straight. So that everyone has the time actually go at their own pace, and whenever, even if they are lagging behind, they can kind of see which direction we went. So that's how we have been managing it recently. That we don't have to keep the group together the whole day, kind of pulling down the fast guys and trying to push the people in the back too hard. So that way, by lunch point, it'll be midday when the sun gets too hot, we have a power nap to our power break. There everyone comes together, and then the same in the evening. So people catch up with the people ahead of the group. Any other further questions?
There's one, Peter.
Yeah.
You've been trekking, all of us are adults. I have a lot of almost 3 years and so. If I have to say to her, why do we trek? She has a lot of why questions. So what would I say that, okay, this is why we trek? I mean, what is the valid answer for it?
I didn't get the question entirely. So, you want to convince somebody to trekking or?
No. For a child, what do I answer? Why do we trek?
Adventure.
Why?
Yeah.
So I think youngsters, we don't have to convince too much, right? Youngsters are eager to go out and
No, it's not the reluctance to actually trek, but the question like, why do we trek?
so that's a question I used to ask when I was giving my trekking boot camp in the last couple of years. So when you open that question to the audience, you will get 20 different answers. Like some people go because of nature's beauty, some people go because you're in the middle of nowhere, you get in a very peaceful surroundings, you kind of, it's like a meditative experience. I'm sure Mr. Mani could also give a couple of reasons to go out in the wild. Many people get different things out of nature. I think for us, city people who are into this kind of busy, crowded, stressful traffic, city pollution and all, I think we get a lot of we actually recharge a lot, I would say, both physically and mentally by going 2 days into the wild, being totally disconnected from all this chaos and being in very peaceful surroundings, clean air, clean water, pushing ourselves physically. I mean, doing some good physical activity is also like the perfect thing to kind of relax yourself and purify your body and really get your mind in a very peaceful state. But different people get different things out of going into the wilderness.
If I'm not wrong, you are a consultant in some big IT firm.
Yes, on Friday evening I asked them, right, we leave the office together when work is done. And I asked 100 people, what's your plan this weekend? 99 people don't have any plan. They just, I don't know what they do in life, they just go home. They just maybe go to a movie, go to a beach, or go to Mahabalipuram, that's it. That's all about it. So I think it's a state of mind actually. It's not about that we don't have time, it's that many people don't have the energy or don't have, the willpower or I think to really go out. There's so many things you can do in 2 days, 2-day weekends. We don't even have enough time anymore with the weekends. We only have 52 weekends in a year, so now we started kind of maximizing our time in the weekday mornings and evenings. We do swimming in the mornings, we do running, we go on cycle trips in the evening. There's so many hours you have even in the weekdays. It gets light at 5:30, so until you go to office by 10 o'clock, you have a solid 4 or 5 hours and you can do so many things. Same after office, 6 to 12, you can actually do a lot of things I'm telling you, the outskirts of Chennai, just 30 minutes, 1 hour away, you have so much beautiful lakes there, little mountains you can climb, a lot of greenery, a lot of reserved forest actually, Mambakam and beyond, so Kalambakam, Zanduru Road, once you go that, you're totally out of the city, and beautiful place for cycling, trail running, quarries to dip into, so a lot of opportunities are there close to the city, but it's all in the mind, I think. 99 out of 100 people have something stuck in the mind, so that's it.
Today morning I went to the Tirusulam quarry. That's an interesting place too. Just a 7 or 6 kilometer ride on a bicycle, and then I went over there. And it had a wonderful environment. They have done with the quarrying part, the render is done. So that was a good place to go.
How many of the old quarries are not used anymore, so over the years they fill up with water. So that's what we do now twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday mornings. We organize swimming camps near Otiambak, and they also have some beautiful quarries. Because of the depth of the quarry, the volume of water is very high, so the pollution, actually any little pollution that goes inside it doesn't have an impact because of the volume of the water, so it's like crystal clear water. And very nice, it's 150 meter long, it's 50 meter wide. It's much more spacious compared to a swimming pool, not as crowded, the water is pure. It actually has some therapeutic impact the water. If you really swim into the water for 1 hour, so typically when you come from office, you go to that place, it takes like 30 minutes to go through that hectic traffic, you feel stressed, you feel like, once you reach that place, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, you swim 1 hour in the water. So you actually discover natural water actually. So anyone interested to learn swimming can actually join us on our Tuesday and 6 o'clock and Thursday 6 o'clock morning. We do it consistently since December, planning to continue it every week, twice a week. Many people have learned to swim or improve their swimming style in a very nice ways actually. There's some 40 to 50 people participating on a regular basis.
Where do you meet for that?
So people directly come to Otiambak, so on Facebook, you can just see the venue and the timing details, so you can just hop in directly. Many people, I think, commute together with bikes and cars from the city to there. Okay, so I think we'll slowly proceed on with the next speaker of the day. If you have any further questions, you can just ask me outside.
I have a thanks a lot. I have found this CDC. I just can't express myself when how I feel after each trek. Actually, according to this I'm really short of words to express myself after every trek. And even for this question, I remember asking you, I don't find time, I miss these treks. When you wrote one single sentence, you wrote me that you have 52 weeks in a week, in a year, basically. That if you only say 52 times, then you should
that's too much. I think many people have that excuse. They're searching for excuses like, hey, why? For the last 1 year, they've not been able to join. I'm very skeptical on that. There are 52 weekends. Don't tell me you're busy with visiting auntie, uncle, this, that. For 50 weeks, that's not possible. That's something in the head which is stuck. It's your life, you decide what to do with it, and while you're young, I mean, life is very short on this planet. I think you should make the best out of it, because in your 20s, 30s, go out and daily life, going to office every day, the daily routine, what do we do in our offices, that's not life. Life is actually taking your cycle, going on a flight, going to a place where you have never been, looking at, I mean, historical places which are like 7,000 years old, seeing those things, going to untouched nature, that's life actually. Exploring places, reading other cultures, seeing people, those are the real things. Staying in the outdoors, camping, campfire, and dip in the stream, that is really gives you so much back in terms of...
The one life was an eye-opener. I see you as a guru who says...
No, I mean, it's just be careful. I mean, don't say just people, it's like a full team effort. There are so many organizers in this group, 50 plus people who kind of constantly do organize things. It's basically a team effort. By coincidence, I'm the one who started the website, uploaded some pictures and so put a registration link, but then eventually over the years, there's so many people, hundreds of people have contributed to the whole thing. But it's a nice thing, it's open, it's volunteer-based, it's passionate, there's no commercial focus on it, so it's really a pure thing. Everyone is welcome to join, and over the years it has also become very diverse, because initially we focused on like hardcore treks. It is just quite a tough reputation doing solid treks. But then over the years we did cycling, we do now family camps, we do running, we do swimming, so many things to do that it's, I think, hard to find an excuse still not to be part of this outdoor movement. Okay, thanks. I think we'll proceed with our next speaker.
Big hand around.